Okay, we started passive voice. In the last lesson, we defined voice according to dictionary and according to grammar. And we said that according to dictionary, voice means the sound of a human being. And we also have a topic in grammar by the name a subject can be the doer, that can be the receiver, that can be both the doer and receiver, and it can be neither the doer nor the receiver. When the subject is the doer of an action, this is called active voice. When the subject is the receiver of an action, then this is passive voice. When the subject is both the doer and receiver at the same time, this is called middle voice. And when the subject is neither the doer nor the receiver, this is called zero voice. So in grammar, we have four types of voice: active voice, passive voice, middle voice, and zero voice. Then we studied that middle and zero voice cannot be changed into any other form of voice. We only change active voice into passive voice. So now it is important to study whether to use active or passive, and what are the cases where we must use the passive voice. So there we mentioned almost four reasons: that when the doer of an action is unknown, when that is known but you don't want to mention it, when the doer is known but not more important than the receiver, and when something embarrassing happens, then passive voice is more formal than active voice. So now we're going to study the steps that how an active sentence can be changed into passive generally. And then we will study every tense individually. And we also have some more cases when we are done with all the tenses from active to passive. So we will study them later on. But these are the general steps for all the tenses, right? Overall. So step number one, if somebody wants to change an active voice sentence into passive, so let me first write down an example. My brother always helps poor people. In this sentence, the subject is my brother and it is active because the subject is the doer of this action. Who helps? My brother helps. So my brother performs the action. My brother is the doer of this action. So this sentence is active voice. Now we're going to implement all the steps of changing an active voice sentence into passive in this example. So step number one, if you want to change a sentence into passive, so first you have to find the object. Find the object. What it means is, if there is not any object in a sentence, then it is impossible to change the sentence into passive, right? So the first and the most important thing while changing an active voice sentence into passive is to find the object. And we studied two types of verbs. While we were studying the types of verbs, there we studied transitive and intransitive. And we said that transitive verbs are those verbs which need object, right? An intransitive verb is a verb which doesn't need any object. When there is an object in the sentence, it means the verb is transitive. So we can change an active voice into passive only in the case when the verb is transitive. And when can a verb be transitive? When there is an object. Like this example. My brother always helps. My brother always helps whom? Poor people. Poor people. And this sentence is the receiver of this action. So we have an object and this verb is transitive in this sentence. So we found the object, poor people. Now, what is the next step? The next step is to change the possessions of actually replace the subject and object with each other. We change the places of both subject and object. The subject comes to this position, and object goes to the beginning of the sentence and the subject position. Right? My brother always helps poor people. Now find the object. Poor people as the object. Replace the subject and object with each other. So poor people must be used at the beginning of the sentence as a subject, and my brother must be used at the end of the sentence. Poor people and my brother. And in this example, my brother is used in its own possession. It functions as a subject and poor people functions as an object. And this sentence, poor people is the subject now and my brother is the object. And we use a preposition here, so the object of preposition, and it is called the agent of the action.
Only non-objects that you can say that are the receiver of an action. Now you can say relative object or relative objects as reciprocal objects in these things.
Object of preposition, object of to be, object of gerund, object of infinitive. Here, when we say object, I told you that object means the object of verb only. Yes. Whenever we say object, object means the object of verb, not the objects of other parts of speech. Adjective. That is something else. What are you talking about? Object among no object can oil. You direct object moile, indirect object moile, object of preposition moile, object of to be moile, a complement of to be, object of infinitive moile de, object of gerund moile, the object among moile. Kala chimunga yawas object yat pranura musras shayad nakl dina bahadaf object of verbi. Haga object to the verb mana mukamal ke receiver with action. Dabat hadaf yo. The object la para mukhabara kalewa. Example में दर खड़े हो ना verb माना मुकम्मल के object noun माना ना मुकम्मल के वैसे चीज यो नफर यवाज़ी two वाई यवाज़ी two नो द देने मतलब plus two वी मुस्बत दोई खो मुस्बत खोर सरा ना वाई कना और जिकले मनफी न हाथ मन बोल सरा बे नेगेटिव है तब चुकी सरा फर्क की खुदा मुस्बत और मनफी चोर सरा याद न शुन खपला हदफ ते हमारा मुस्बत दे तो यवाज़ी object याद शो object of verb the hadaf de او chaga nor yado haga be mushakhas ko je kom object haga object amal receive kai the verb object. Step number 3, use a form of to be according to the tense. The marker needs to be refilled or changed. How will that look? I don't know. Suppose. Use a form of to be according to the tense. So we have 8 to be verbs. Is, am, are. These 3 to be verbs are considered one category, one group. Was, were. The second group, be itself, been, and being. We have these 8 forms of to be verbs. So now you have to use a form of to be verb and the passive voice sentence, because without using to be verb, passive voice is impossible. And every passive voice sentence, we have a form of to be verb. And while taking the decision of using one of these forms, you have to think whether it is a continuous tense, a perfect tense, or simple tense. In the continuous tenses, and SMR are used in present simple and passive. Was and were are used in past simple. Be is used in future simple. Been is used in all the perfect tenses, which are 3 in number. And being is used in all the continuous tenses, which are 6 in number. Nadadulas tensuno la para to be verb paidasyo. Continuous tenses ki being, perfect tenses ki been. SMR present simple, was were past simple, be future simple. Now it is my brother always helps poor people as present simple. When you use the object and the subject position, poor people, now use a form of to be verb. And present simple we use SMR according to the subject. When the subject is plural like this, poor people, then you have to use are. Poor people are. Step number 4. Change the verb into the third form. Because in passive voice, we use only the third form of verb. Any other form of verb is not used. Poor people are. Now helps is used as a singular form of verb. It is changed into third form. Poor people are helped. Step number 5. Use by before the object of passive. कल चिद्दागा सब्जेक्ट रागे दलता सब्जेक्ट लार alta di jumla ki di tamung subject wayu data object wayu ko kala ci passive ta chancho data bos mong object na wayu data bos mong subject wayu au kom subject na ci object jod sho da ba the passive object wi sahi no daga subject ci pa active ki subject ko pa passive ke bada object girzi au kom ci da active object de da ba the passive subject गर्जी दे हालत के बोलता हूँ object ना वायु बिया passive के use by before the object of passive, so use by here. Poor people are helped by my brother. Now point number 6. Change subject pronouns into object. Object pronouns and vice versa. change subject pronouns into object pronouns and vice versa. او دا رقم برعکس subject pronouns object pronouns تا او object pronouns subject pronouns تا ولی ځکه چې دلته subject نه تا object جوړ کو او دا subject دلته subject pronoun یوز کی خو دلته به بیا object pronoun یوز کی او کله چې دی object راواخسته subject دې جوړ کړ نو کله دلته object pronoun یوز شوی دی دا به ته چینج کې subject pronoun تا object برالی subject pronoun ته به چینج کې subject pronoun برالی object pronoun ته به چینج کې خو دې جمله کې pronouns نه دی یوز شوی برعکس او همداسې برعکس 7 vice versa don't change the possessions of modifiers. Don't change the possessions of modifiers. جمله کې کوم modifiers استعمال شوی د دې position یې مت change کوئ. Modifiers means adverbs and adjectives or determiners. د دې position باندې change کوو. څه مطلب؟ اول خبره دا ده چې موږ باید اول position وپیژنو. موږ position پیژنو یا نه پیژنو. د adjective لپاره موږ څلور position اویلې وي. صحیح ده؟ چې adjective predicative case کې یوز کیږي. abridging case کې یوز کیږي. attributive case کې یوز کیږي او post indefinite case کې یوز کیږي. او دغه څلور cases چې موږ د adjective لپاره ویلو اوس دلته په دې جمله کې determiner my راغلی دی. د brother نه مخکې دی. نو دا به بیا هم د brother نه مخکې موجودي. دا چې چېرته لاړ دا به هم وسځي. د پوزیشن بدلولو معنا به دا نه وي چې دا د جملې سر کې استعمال شوی نو همدلته به یې د دې ځای باندې چینج کړي. د دې ځای دا دی چې دا د noun نه مخکې یوز کیږي. possessive adjective یا possessive determiner د noun نه مخکې یوز کیږي نو پوزیشن به نه چینج کړي. پوزیشن به نه چینج کړي معنا دا چې دا به بیا هم د همدې noun نه مخکې یوز کیږي. اوس دا noun دلته راغی دا به بیا هم د دې نه مخکې یوز کیږي په همدې ځای کې به یې. always کلمه په دې جمله کې my brother always helps poor people. adverb of frequency adverb of frequency دی نو دا به په جمله کې د subject او د verb ترمنځ یوز کیږي او که چېرته auxiliary راغله نو د auxiliary نه بعد یوز کیږي. اوس دغه پوزیشن دلته هم auxiliary راغله poor people are نو پوزیشن د adverbs of frequency کوم ځای دی دا ځای دی. دلته به always کلمه استعمال کړي. poor people are always helped. Position of ویلې یو parts of speech کې. always helped by my brother. جمله passive ته change شوه. اوس دغه جمله چې مونږ د active نه passive ته change کړل د معنا به تغیر کیږي کنه؟ نه به تغیر کیږي. معنا به سیم وي. کله چې یو جمله د active نه passive ته change شوه معنا هدف به مکمل یو شانتی وي صرف د دې طرف نه به معنا کیږي. بس معنا کې به تغیر نه راځي. هدف پر دواړو جملو یو رقمي. my brother always helps poor people. زما ورور همیشه د غریبو خلکو سره مرسته کوي. بیا معنا دار چې د غریبو خلکو سره همیشه مرسته کیږي زما د ورور لخوا. هدف کې حکم تغیر را نه غي یو شانتی شو. خدا یو طریقه شو دای بل شو. هم دې شو کنه. اوس خبره موږ د passive کړې ده ښا چې passive موږ کوم وخت یوز کوو. نو اوس په دې جمله کې poor people are always helped. صحیح ده. زه داسې جمله وایم چې زمونږ په ټولنه کې د غریبو خلکو سره همیشه مرسته کیږي. نو په دې جمله کې ډو ورته بیخي ضرورت نشته. زمونږ په ټولنه کې د غریبو خلکو سره همیشه مرسته کیږي. اوس څوک چې کوي دا پکې نه مهم دی نه ذکر کولو ته ضرورت شته. دا جمله به مستقیما موږ څه کوو په passive voice کې تیر سات کې هم تاسو ته ما ویلو چې موږ ځکه جمله د اکټیو نه پیسیو ته چینج کوو چې دا کار آسان شي نور چینج کول پکې نشته جمله به ګورې تحلیلی به آیا دغه جمله د اکټیو ده که د پیسیو ده اوله خبره چې د پیدا کړه که اکټیو د اکټیو کې به وي که د پیسیو د پیسیو کې به وي دوهم چې پیدا یې کړه اکټیو ده که پیسیو اوس په کوم ټینس کې ده نو ستا به د 12 زمانو هم اکټیو سټرکچر دی او هم به د پیسیوز دی نو که د اکټیو په اکټیو کې به وي که د پیسیو په پیسیو کې وي داسې خو کېږي نه که نه چې ته کله سپیکینګ کې یو ځل به جمله اکټیو کې بیا به چینج کړې ورته خو مستقیما به روانې خبرې کې که ستا په دې خبرو کې اکټیو ته ضرورت به ټول اکټیو استعمالوي که پیسیو ته ضرورت و پیسې به استعمالوي اوس مستقیما دا خبره ته راغله سپیکینګ کې لګیا جاري دی وایي چې زموږ ټول لکه غریبو خلکو سره مرسته کېږي نو تا به ځان داسې عادت کړی چې بغیر د فکر نه ته په دې باندې پوه شې چې دا زه اکټیو کې وایم که دا زه پیسیو کې وایم نو مستقیما ته پوهېږي غریبو خلکو سره مرسته کېږي ډور پکې نشته چې څوک یې کوي مرسته چا سره کېږي هغه معلوم دی دا جمله به مستقیما په پریزنټ سمپل ټینس کې په پیسیو کې وایي چې هغه سټرکچر به ستاسو دی چې 12 ټینسونو لپاره موږ سټرکچر یې وایو د جمله به داسې چې پور پیپل آر آلویز هیلپ ان اور سوسایټي غریبو خلکو سره همیشه مرسته کېږي زموږ په ټولنه کې دا به بیا څومره چې ډېر پریکټس کړې هماغومره د ژبه اوري بیا به ضرورت نه فکر د چې ته ورته فکر وکړې چې اکټیو کې وایم که پیسیو کې